Oh, I tell you we want church.
I won't have to cry no more.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Keep It Simple, Sir, Keep It Simple, Senorita, Keep It Simple, Senor, and Keep It Simple, Saints. My name is Tewanna. I am the guest host today. Thank you for Bishop Norton. He's given me the honor of being here today, and I'm so proud that we get to bring a new topic with us today. Our topic today, and I have some wonderful people, our topic today is Passing the Torch Lit, Generation to Generation. I have some wonderful guests today that's going to be able to share their wisdom and hope and strength and what they do in the community. We always open with a scripture. Our scripture is Psalms 145 and 4. It says, "One generation shall praise thy works to another and shall declare thy mighty acts." Thank you so much for joining me. I would love to introduce my guest today. Today, to my left, I have Mama Nozipo. I also have Shondell Preston. I also have Kelly Hupp. Without further ado, they're going to do their introductions to themselves. First, I'd like to introduce Mama Nozipo. Would you like to tell everyone what you do in the community, Mama Nozipo?
Well, I try to do in the community what the community requires of me. So I find out what the community needs, and if they allow me, then I am right in there, hand and foot, all in.
Hi, my name is Shondell Preston. Mental health case manager in the community. Been doing that for the last 10 years. Also, recently started a nonprofit of my own, Apply to Knowledge, Ohio, which I'll be rolling out this summer with consulting programs like speaking engagements for young people, and also mentoring and educating where the young folks need, because that's a part of passing the torch. I believe is important.
Hi, my name is Kelly Hupp. I started a nonprofit organization, and it's called A Woman Veteran, Helping Women Veterans. And basically what I do, I deliver food to all veterans. I just don't service, my outreach goes to all men and women veterans, but the ultimate goal is to have transitional housing for our women veterans. I deliver about 300 meals per week to veterans, non-veterans, family members, whoever needs it. I also deliver furniture, household items, clothing to veterans, women veterans, and like I said, the goal is to have transitional housing for our women veterans, which is not available at the VA. They do have transitional housing for men, a building for men, which I deliver food to, but they have nothing for our women veterans. And so it's real important for our community to come together to make that possible.
That is excellent. You guys did a great, but I want to brag on you a little bit more. You guys have a big heart, and I know you give back. I get to see and hear from Kelly on a daily basis. Mm-hmm. She provides food, not like she said, not only to the veterans, but to anyone homeless or in need. Mm-hmm. Also, if they needed household goods and clothing. She has really been significant in meeting that need with everyone. So I have to tell you, she has a great big heart. And even with Mr. Preston, Shondell, he has a big heart. He also has his theme is to work with the youth. We do need you so much to work with the youth, because so many people say, oh, we don't want to work with them. But yes, we need those people that are not afraid to work with our generation. And Mama Nozipo, she did not even express, and she's so humble. She was the 2019 Skyscraper recipient for our city as well. She's also a member of the City Dayton Elders Council. And also, she serves with me on the African American Cultural Festival. And she's a significant point of that festival and the village, because we seek the wisdom. So along with our topic today, passing the torch, but importantly, making sure that torch is lit and making sure we pass it on to that generation, because they need that. A lot of them don't even realize they do it. So our topic today is sharing that. And one of the big things I want us to talk about, let's have a discussion. What does passing that torch mean to each one of us? Who would like to share?
Well, to me, especially when you said it has to be lit, we have to show, especially the youths, that the importance of having a nonprofit, a charity that will benefit their community and make life better in their community. Showing as an example, like a lot of the kids in my neighborhood, they see what I do. They want to do what I do. They're excited, they want to help. I've started a teens and tweens lawn mowing, so I have the young men, and I'm going to involve the girls as well, as far as like lawn care. So I have a customer, he's a doctor, and he has an apartment building, and he has a house, and I've got another customer for the boys. So I'll take them to the site, watch them, supervise them, make sure their parents are aware, though, have to get permission from their parents, and have them doing something, and they're actually, then they're starting to be entrepreneurs on their own, and they're learning how to do their own business as well as like, and then they see what I do, like they'll say, oh, what is all that food for? And I'm like, well, I'm delivering it to people. I even go up to the homeless shelter there on Gettysburg, and I'll just hand out food, and I have the kids help me do it as well. It's just getting them involved and keeping it lit and showing them how important it is to take care of the less fortunate in our community. And that's what it means to me. So.
Well, I believe, to me, passing the lit torch is about starting with our young people, from teaching them the basic knowledge of reading and things like that, to giving them skills for humility and learning, like you said, passing out food to the homeless and things like that. Just giving them those type of things, and also providing them with skills that'll help them, to help teach them how to put themselves in a position to be able to take care of themselves, and then even pass that along to their own kids. Because so many times, even after high school, we see kids, they'll finish school, and that's a great accomplishment to finish high school, but they don't have a plan for themselves beyond that. And once you don't have a plan for yourself beyond that, then you kind of just go wayward. So I really think that that's important, that we pass the lit torch, and we also stress the importance of having a plan for yourself. Because after high school, you still need to carry that same ambition and that same drive to continue to raise the bar for yourself and also your family members.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for me, passing it while it's lit is really common sense, because when it's no longer lit, it's dead. What's the point of passing on a torch that is dead? That means that the next person will have to find a match, find something to start fire with, to light the torch all over again, reinventing the wheel. And there's no reason for us to have to reinvent the wheel, because a lot of what we're talking about today has been done. All we have to look back at those who did it, how they did it, and improve on what they did. Also, it's important to pass it while it's lit, because after a while, with the wind and the rain and everything, the torch, gets a little dimmer, and if you're getting older, holding that torch, it gets heavier and heavier, and the arm is not holding it right any longer. So you really are getting tired, and feeble. And you really need to pass it on to the younger people who will invigorate the torch and who has the zest and the zeal to move on with it. And, when the younger people are holding that torch brings light. So they're not only holding that light for themselves, but they're also holding the light for you. So your legacy continues, and you continue to watch it, you continue to see it even before you leave this world. And then they're able to pass it on to the next and the next. So while it's lit, it's very, very important.
Mm-hmm. And that is so true. One of the biggest pieces, because we always say it takes the village. Mm-hmm. And we always share that African proverb. But I want to share the other part of that proverb, just a little bit of that. And I just found it so embracing. It says, a child that is not embraced by the village will burn it down to feel its warmth. Isn't that amazing? Mm-hmm. If I can't get the love that I need and the caring, I would burn it down just to feel that warmth, because I never would have felt it.
Right.
And I see a lot of times, would you say kids get lost when they finish high school? Well, that's it. What do I do next? Right. So how do we keep that from happening? Because then it turns into resentment of, this society owes me, and we have a generation right now is, you're supposed to give me,
yes.
I don't work for it. So how do we impress that? Because we've done a lot of the hard work, like you said, it's been done.
I think biggest thing is starting young, prior to high school, I believe. It is a good time to start implementing planning and starting to organize time and things you want to do with yourself. What are your interests? I start that with my son. He's 8 years old. We always talk about what you're interested in, what you want to do with yourself, because you can't wait till you get to that point to then think about it and then try to start figuring it out. Then you need to already have a plan in place, because if you have a plan, you can adjust and make adjustments to your plan, and you can do things on the fly. But if you don't have a plan, you're starting from zero. And then when you're starting from zero, you're just kind of winging it. And then with that, you get bad information some places, you get good information, and then sometimes you don't know which is which, and then you end up taking the long way around for something you could have planned out, and then maybe had better success with planning it out, and then being able to go to different folks who may have traveled that road and been able to ask questions and get the proper information. A lot of our folks just kind of wing it. I'll be honest and tell you, for me, at 14, that was kind of my thing. I kind of had to feel my way out. Fortunate enough to have a solid foundation and be able to navigate and get to the point to where getting myself educated, and also through college as well. But it's imperative that our young people have a plan, and they're also kind of working towards it, and then seeing examples of what they want to do, and examples of what career choices that they're making, and people in those careers.
Right, and I joined the military because I grew up from a poor family in coal mining area in Ohio, and we didn't have money for college, and I didn't have a scholarship, so I joined the military. And the stigma of the military is, sometimes seen bad, but I don't regret being in the military. I spent 5 years on active duty in a field unit. I learned a good skill, and I'm taken care of the rest of my life. I don't have to worry about medicines, hospitals, and I also get a check. And plus I got money for education that I used. So the military is actually, and you travel, you get to go different places. Like I look back and I was like, well, I should have joined the Navy. I was in the Army, because the Navy, some of my friends that I know, they went to almost every country in the world in the Navy. They had stopped at every country on the ships, and it's like amazing. People that I've known that's been on submarines, you wouldn't be able to do that if you were, just living your life here and not joining and outreaching and trying to get involved in different things. So that was my experience, and I think the military really did good for me. It was just my choice, and I went in, and I don't know. I just throw that out there, though.
That's a good thing, because we always do. You hear the negative. We always hear the negative. And I have a cousin that's now in the military, and he got out, and now he's still carrying that on, and he's doing excellent. So I think it depends the path, like you said, you're choosing. And he's going to retire at 45. So that's amazing to me. But yes, getting the right information.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. We have to start well before high school, well before high school. Growing up in Africa, it was an honor and a privilege, because we didn't have what here you call the nuclear family. We had what they call an extended family, but we call it family, period. So my grandmother was still there. My great-grandma at 110 was still there. And every single day she would wake you up if you tried to nap and ask you, what did you learn today? Even little kids who are learning to speak, she wanted to know, what did you learn? And she explained to us that the brain is a muscle, and if a muscle gets no exercise, it gets flabby, and I was scared of a flabby brain. So I'm still going to school. I've been going to Sinclair since 1980, and I'm still taking classes there. And when what the parents were doing, the elders were doing, was they were watching you from a young age to see what skills you might be having, because even little babies have skills. And they would steer you in that direction. Also, the other thing is the community looked at what the community needed. So if the community needed a doctor, not a plumber, they would encourage you to become a doctor. You didn't say, oh, I'm going to be a doctor because we make a lot of money. No, it wasn't about that. It was about what helps your community. But they started nurturing you from a very, very young age. And you move from step by step up to, adulthood. So by the time you were an adult, the community had prepared you.
And that's so important, having the community and having that foundation and support. we're talking about passing the torch and make sure it's lit and passing the right information. I want to share with you guys, it's an article from Tony Wang, and he says passing the baton and what's the importance. So just a little bit of that so we can continue our conversation. But it says, in order for it to qualify for a good pass, let's keep that in mind. It says both runners must be running so they do not lose time. Number 2 says there must be trust and confidence that the team member will handle it properly. Number 3 says a runner receiving the baton cannot look back or swerve out of the lane. Number 4 says it requires knowledge of each other's ability. 5 says the runner passing the baton has to tell the other runner when to go. If they say go too early, he won't have time to catch him and give him the baton. 6 says it also requires strict obedience to the rules. So getting the right information, knowing the rules of the game, that is so important, and that's why we're having the conversation today. And a part of that conversation I wanted to discuss, how do we prepare that next generation? We talked about making sure it's early, starting as soon as possible, but how do we get them prepared? And I love what you said, the community stands behind. I wish we had that community today.
I think that's just what it is. It has to start with the community. First, within the home, the parents are the first teachers of the child. So it has to start with the parents and them acknowledging and recognizing what strengths and weaknesses their kids have, and then nurturing and guiding those. Also, just giving historical content for our kids. We have to know where we come from to know where we're going and whose shoulders are we standing on, because we all stand on the shoulders of our ancestors and for the things that they went through so that we don't have to go through those things. So my understanding and how I was raised, it's our job to take it a step further. It shouldn't stop at wherever your parents, whatever level your parents stopped on. I'm a college graduate. I expect that and then some of my son. And I think that's the foundation that we have to start setting. Put the expectations on the kid. That's not a pressure. It's not a pressure if you're prepared. It's only pressure if you're not prepared for the situation.
Absolutely.
But if we start the preparation early and you want to start putting positive influences around your children, people who are doing things that are going to nurture their minds and spark curiosity to do things that maybe they haven't done or that you haven't done.
And not keeping the knowledge to ourselves. We have to share the knowledge. It has to be passed on. Like, okay, well, I learned how to start my own nonprofit. Let me tell you how to do this. Let me tell you how to, I'm learning now, I'm taking classes on grants, how to get grant money for the veterans. And, not holding that inside, telling other people, not being worried, well, what if they get my grant money from me or whatever, no, you don't worry about that. You just worry about passing it on, passing your knowledge to people, what you learned. This is how I did this. This is how I did that. So other people can learn too. Because, if you just keep your knowledge to yourself, that's not good, and you're just stingy. You got to keep passing it on. And then also giving God all the glory. I always tell the kids, God help me do this, God help me do that, so.
Yeah, I think that passing it on, again, like you say, is very important because one, going back to when you get older, your mind may get feeble, you may get amnesia or dementia, whatever, and so all that knowledge is gone. Nobody can use it. And I have an example of my uncle. He was an athlete, the best athlete you ever saw, healthy as a horse. And he knew certain things. He was an herbalist, and he could, people would line up to get medicine for this, medicine for that. He didn't have to go to medical school. And they came to him because he was so healthy, and they believed in him, but he didn't share the ingredients. And all of a sudden, he died of a heart attack, long before we thought he would die. And he died along with all that knowledge. So, it didn't help anybody knowing all that. It's very, very important. And again, my great-grandmother taught us, when you are sharing what you know, you are gaining. You know, and it's really true because my granddaughter was majoring in sociology. I haven't done sociology since the 70s. You know, I graduated in the 70s. But when I was helping her, it came back, you know, and actually I made better connections with the sociology now in 2022 than I did in the 70s when I was in school. It was very theoretical to me then, but it became more practical, and she can, I can to myself use it now. You know, so it's very, very important to pass it on. You're not going to take it with you.
I want to go back to something you said in regards to the article you read, that the passing the baton. You have to be told when to go.
Right.
And I think it's important that the person that's passing you the baton is not, like you said, stingy or withholding the information. We can't be afraid to let our kids and our young people grow into whatever it is they're going to be, however great that is going to be. We can't be jealous or have some type of hardened heart against our young folks, because they sense that and they can see that. A lot of these things we see our kids battle today, but we have to start to tell them that it's okay to go and seek out the knowledge or make the mistakes. Sometimes we have to go experience things in order to get the knowledge that we need in order to flourish and be what we want to be.
Right.
And that's important too, because making sure that we say, hey, it's time to go. And I'll give you an example with Bishop Norton and doing this. Starting out, I was just guest, and then he asked me to guest host, and now he's asking me to host. So, and I think his torch is on fire. And I'm just grateful. So I think when we're trying to figure out how we do it, is preparing them, being prepared. He goes, come, prepare, giving them the knowledge, and then giving them the direction and saying, hey, I think it's time now. These are our future leaders, and we have to prepare them. Who else is going to do that? We have the knowledge. We say we're going to share that. And then what platform? Because now we have Facebook, we have all these platforms, social media, and it's so much knowledge. Now it's like the kids are overwhelmed. And it's like, how do they decipher? So I like what you're saying, being that mentor. And how do you think being that mentor and passing that torch to that next person is going to look?
Share your experiences. You have to share the good and the bad. We can't put rose-colored glasses on our kids. We need to let them know that no, it's not going to be easy. First and foremost, for whatever it is you want to do in life, it's going to take some effort and it's going to be some struggle. And for me, I always tell my son, the struggle is just to make sure that you really want what you say you want, because that's life. If it's as easy as we make it seem by saying things, I want to be this or I want to be that, then everybody will be able to do it. But what's for you is for you, and you're going to have tests. That's just the nature of living, and that's just the nature of how things go when you want to achieve something. You're going to be tested to see, is this really what you want, and are you really going to sacrifice to be able to go after it? And it's going to take sacrifice to get anything we want, and we have to teach that to our young people. Nobody's going to give it to you. Nobody's going to do it for you, and you have to put in 100% effort. You have to be committed. That's a strong word, but you have to be committed. And I think that the biggest thing is rid yourself of any outside distractions at a young age. Stop all the relationship talk and want to get involved in those things. Those things are mere distractions for what you want to obtain. As long as you're going to be around, you're going to have a person around that you're going to have attraction to. There's no rush to get into that. Figure out what it is you want to do with yourself. Be selfish. I know that a lot of times that's been used as a negative word in our community and with our kids. I'm a strong advocate of be selfish, because once you start adding others to your life, then you have to take into consideration their thoughts and feelings about what you want to do with yours. And then are we able to do that? And are you willing to be unselfish enough to say, hey, even though I want to do this, I still got to listen to this person. That's difficult as a grown adult in your 40s and 50s, not to mention for a kid, 17 to 20s, 30s. So figure out you first before you add someone to your life.
Yeah, and to piggyback on what you just said, I always tell the young people, that when you are flying in the plane, the air hostesses, host, they always tell you, if the oxygen thing comes down, even if you have a newborn baby, put it on yourself first, then put it on the baby, because you might put it on the baby and then faint, and who's going to take care of that baby? So, and I was just having a talk with my granddaughter this morning, telling her basically what you were saying, that you are the driver of this, and your body is the vehicle, and you the driver, not the passenger. Never be a passenger, because the driver will take you wherever they want to go. And I explained to her, I say, I know people here love cars. You clean your car, you maintain your car, you shine your tires, you tint your windows. That's what you're supposed to do with your body. Treat it as your vehicle, because the body is going to take you where you need to go.
Yeah. Also, I notice in my neighborhood, as people that work at the community, there's a lot of parents that don't step up and do those things in my neighborhood to the children. And we are out in the community, we have to be that bright light for them, because there's a couple families that I know that the child that doesn't get that very much. And but as a commitment, as doing things for the community, as helping people, we are seen as a bright light, and I know that because there's so many kids that go to my house, and I'll give them treats and have them do things, but just being that bright light for the child, and they see you doing things, and you become, not say they're a role model, but just something like me, I want to do that. And I said, kids already have been saying that to me, and so I think that's just our responsibility as being involved in the community as well.
I think that's important, because them seeing it and being the example, I think that being that bright light, they say, hey, I can do that too. Because like you said, we have to be honest. We have to give them the good with the bad, but we have to make sure they're able to receive it. And a lot of times we hear people, oh, I already know that already, but did you know this? I personally grew up, and we had sessions where we sat at the foot of elders, and they told us stories. And oh, they were amazing. Like, you did that? And we don't have that, because grandmothers have changed, our elders have changed. And I'm here to tell you, at the Dayton City, we do have elders right here on the Elders Council. And I know Mama's one of them, and she's going to be speaking. She's also going to be on June 11th speaking at the World Refugee at Grace United Methodist Church. And it's called World Refugee Day. Let me say it correctly. And still, that means not being partial, giving that information and speaking. Mama, share with us what you're going to be talking about on June 11th at the Grace United Methodist.
Well, World Refugee Day, we're going to have different activities. We have about 6 speakers. We're supposed to speak for 5 minutes each. It's going to be interesting to see that. 6 people who don't necessarily have English as their first language, but we'll do the best we can. But in addition to that, there'll be cultural events, there'll be food, but also we are collecting anything, essentials, toothbrushes, toothpaste, soap, essentials, to pass them on to the Catholic Social Services, because Catholic Social Services is the first port of entry for a lot of the refugees and the immigrants who come through Dayton. I'm on the board of Welcome Dayton, so I'll be speaking. And basically, what I'm going to speak about is what my great-grandmother, the 110-year-old one, that's what she taught us. She always taught us that you are an ambassador of your people. Wherever you go, you are representing not Nozipo, you are representing your people, wherever they are. So, I think that I want to encourage the refugees who are from all different parts of the world never to lose their culture, never to try to hide their culture, but to share their culture with the rest of Americans here.
That is absolutely wonderful. And I look forward I want to attend this event, and I'm going to make sure I'm in town, because getting out there, one of the biggest things I know is volunteering. I know people say, well, you don't get paid for this. I don't have to. I get a bigger reward that you can see. But actually volunteering, talking to our young people, what have you helped someone today? A part of the stores that we have, there's one particular store that if you do a good deed, You can get a coupon or a voucher to get clothing. So maybe an incentive to do something great. This is what you can be doing. But how do we reach those children that's hard to reach? How do we get to those generations? What do we do? Because we know we see it, and you see it every day in your community. But how do we make it a step further to make sure the information is getting out? Look like you was about to say something, Sean.
Starts with a conversation. I'm, I guess, fortunate enough to work in this the field where I do a lot of first contact with young people who may be homeless, have mental health disorders, alcohol and drug addiction. So it starts with just contact and showing that you care, giving the information and giving positive and proper information that's going to help the person. Letting them know, hey, this organization here, this organization can help you with many different things, and point them in the direction of the right resources. Also, taking the time to listen to what their needs are, and don't be so quick to want to just come and rescue someone. You got to first listen to what they want, and then after you hear what they want, kind of assess the situation and see in what ways can you help. And then after that, you point folks in the direction of the resources if you can't do it yourself. Because the resources are out here. The biggest thing is we have to point folks in the direction of, and then also make available to them, and easily accessible. Sometimes there are things that are available to folks that's all the way across town, and they don't have the ability to get there. So we have to have things that's readily accessible to all people in the community.
Right, and you were talking about listening. Part of my organization is too, veterans will call. They find me, on Google, and I listen for hours to people that's, on the verge of wanting to kill themselves, on the verge of, just so depressed, especially with the economy now. They've lost their job. And just sitting and listening to people, and that's part of it too, as our jobs as part of the community. As I open my door saying, I'm a woman veteran helping women veterans, but I help all veterans. I've listened to men cry on the phone because of their situation, but I know that I helped them because I just listened and I didn't judge. You never point fingers, well, you're doing this and you're doing that wrong. You just listen. And then if they ask for advice, then I'll say, well, why don't you try this? It's just my opinion, and I'm looking from the outside, and I'm just telling you, this is, maybe you should have that person maybe not in your life, some kind of toxic person that's usually kind of involved. And like you were saying earlier, that changes the dynamics of a child too, with their relationships. In teenage, the hormones are going, and they want to have their boyfriend or girlfriend, but sometimes those people can be toxic, and just change the whole dynamics of your life. And yeah, so listening is so important, just being an ear.
At RISA, we do a RISA passage at McClendon Institute for Learning. And we have some of the ladies. So one of the first ladies would come in, they would be so shy. And then once you get there, they kind of warm up a little bit, and then they start sharing, oh yeah, I might like this, or I might like this. And then next thing you know, they open up to you. So being there, like you said, being a listening ear, and then having the knowledge and being available. We say we're available, but hold on, I'm on the phone. Hold on. But you don't know how that would change someone's life. And listening, because I had someone say, why you smile at me? I was trying to be angry. And you smiled at me. You made me smile back. I was like, I'm so sorry. It's contagious. But just being that light. And he says, I was having such a bad day. I was contemplating killing myself. And your smile changes. So you don't know how just being available sometimes and carrying that light, even though you don't feel like it. I've got the biggest blessings the days I didn't feel like getting up. When I got my day started, oh my goodness, everything just fell into place. And that's why I said we got to be in the place, one, to be available, and to pass on that knowledge. So along with passing on that torch, we talked about how to do it, and then why we should do it, and who's that next generation. But I want to say today, with social media, we have so many things and so many events happening around the world. How do we still give each other encouragement and hope to our generation to pass? So how do we continue passing on and encouraging our generations to come?
Well, we never give up. You know, we never get overwhelmed. We have to, you know, my grandmother used to say we don't have the luxury to give up. And to piggyback on what you were saying earlier, for me, it's that smile. You know, sometimes I see a frustrated parent getting ready to go off on the child, and I just look at them and smile, and their whole attitude changes. You know, I've had people come back and say, oh, you know, that day I saw you and with that big old smile, I was contemplating something. You know, I catch the bus everywhere I go, so I smile a lot. You know, I play this game with myself. How many people are going to smile back? You know, just little things like that. But, you know, I see a lot of homeless people. You know, I smile. In fact, some of them think I'm homeless too because I hang out with them, you know, and we talk, and that's how I inject little knowledge bit by bit. You know, do you know they serving breakfast at such and such, you know, stuff like just a little bit, you know, and trust. You know, that trust is so important. You know, when people can trust you, when they know that you are empathetic, not sympathetic, you know, when they know that, you know, you are not judgmental, that goes a long way. That goes a long way. And, you know, you don't have to go find. People are all around you who need help. You know, you don't have to, like a researcher, go find people with a little tablet. No, you don't have to go through that. Just start with your family. You got family members that need you, you know, and neighbors, you know, who need you. And going back to, you know, the elders, you know, I always encourage young people, talk to the lady next door. You know, talk to the old lady. Do you know who your next door neighbor is? You know, talk to, you will be surprised. And some of them will follow through with that and say, oh my goodness, I did not know Miss So-and-so did this and did that. I didn't know she used to be a school teacher. I didn't know, you know, so, you know, it's not mysterious. It really isn't. It's possible. It's right at our fingertips.
I think just, like you said, being available, we have to kind of be the example of what we, for the young folks. A lot of times, like you were saying, you have folks in your community who, you know, that there's families that, you know, that the adults aren't, you know, on the up and up. So we have to kind of provide the example. Again, point our young folks in the direction of the resources that can help them if we're not that resource. I've had situations where I go to work fairly early in the morning, and I've stopped at the gas station like anybody else trying to get to work, and come across two young kids, a male and female, and I guess they call themselves boyfriend, girlfriend, out begging for money. It's 7 in the morning, and you're out asking for money. Most of the time, I don't even I don't give money. I always give a resource to folks. So I definitely take the opportunity every chance I get at every gas station I go to, because there's always a homeless person that's asking for something. If I got some type of fruit or something or water in my car, I give that. But for the most part, I always try to pass along a resource that'll help them not only eat for that day, but eat for you know, for days to come and you know, time to come. So it's just about providing a resource. Like you said, showing that we're available, and also just letting them know on all platforms that these organizations exist, like yours, and folks like me and you out here, and like yourself, Ms. Tewanna, who provide opportunity for folks who have, you know, had difficult times and things haven't went their way. But as long as you have life in you, you can change your circumstance and you can change your situation. It's about the individual. It's about seeking that knowledge and the resources to get you, you know, to a better point in your life.
Yeah, the food, you know, Sunday and Monday mornings, I always have Dunkin' Donuts. I get them the night before. I talked to you about that, Tewanna. And I have tracts. You can order these tracts. They're free. And it's just a little bit of scripture on there. And I call it donut and some scripture. And I'll see people, you know, sitting out Sunday morning. And they'll be drinking a beer out there, but I'll still go up with some donuts and scripture. You know, here's a little bit of scripture for you and a donut. And they're happy, you know, and just keep moving that forward, you know. And the kids see me do it, and you know, it's just it just helps them too, you know, to say somebody does care. They're coming and bringing me some scripture and a donut, you know. So.
And you're working on a fundraiser, I hear. Tell us about that.
Yes, September 17th. I'm going to start a fundraiser. I'm also going to start selling T-shirts. I want to get campers for vets. And it's an emergency temporary housing for veterans that have nowhere to go. I want to get, it's going to be at the VFW in Beaver Creek, September 17th, which is on a Saturday. I want to have some kids' activities. I'm talking to Outback Steakhouse. They may provide for the whole thing, the food. There's going to be a band. I'm working on that if you have any suggestions of a band. But yeah, just a lot of things going on. There'll be a cover charge, and all that money is going to be going to buy a couple campers for women veterans. Start out with women veterans, but the long-term goal would be to have a campground kind of like out away from the city that would be good for our veterans, all veterans, a section for the women, a section for the men, especially if they suffer from any kind of trauma. Be a pond, maybe a chicken coop, you know, I have big plans. This is like future down the road, but it'd just be a nice place for our veterans to be. And even if they need to decompress, just living kind of like out from the city in the country, just a relaxing atmosphere. And then if they need a place to stay, the campers have showers, they have toilets, they have kitchens, they have beds, you can put TVs in there. So it's just like its own contained little house, you know, and there's a lot, like I'll see a lot of campers just sitting around nobody's using, you know, and it's like these things could be housing people, you know, and just make it a nice little community. I even thought of a name, Habitat Haven for Vets, you know, listen, brainstorming all the time, so.
And where's your apprentice? We got to get you an apprentice. So wonderful. We were just talking about on the way here, preparing the next generation and having an apprentice that can learn from you. I consider my niece, she 15 be 16 this year. I'm always showing her and making her aware. She was like, where are we going today? Well, today we're going to go down to the TV studio. Or today we're going to go over here to this college. Or we're going to go over and help these homeless people. So I try to show her as well and give her the knowledge. This is why this is important. But having the proper way to do things, because I always believe in planting the seed. I always plant the seed. Here's how I can help you. I don't force anyone to help, but I say, here, if you're hungry, here's a sandwich. Here, if you like to get some more, I'll pass that on. But part of that being is passing that torch, and I want her to learn now. As I'm gaining a knowledge, she'll be gaining too, so she can pass it on, because I'm gonna charge her with that as well. But in this generation and time, and we're seeing so many things, we want to still be that inspiration and hope, despite of everything going on around us. So I would have to educate. You know, I grew up in the country, and we thought different about guns and how people use them now. And it was totally different. We hunted, or it's protection. And now I hear it's so violent. So then how to change that perspective, you know, and the biggest part, it was educating. I was taught how to grow my own vegetables. How do I start this business? By just watching. So I want to be that light too, and to share as much as possible. And the biggest thing I heard about this when I read the story, the article I shared with you guys, is not just having the knowledge, but having obedience. I learned to seek knowledge, and we say take the cotton out of our ears and put it in our mouth, because we always want to say, but I, or when you go tell a young person, I already knew that, or I know, and they don't know. They just know this little bit. So how do we get them to take that cotton out of their ears? I think by showing them new things they haven't seen before. Do you know how long it took me? And I moved to Dayton in the early 90s, and I did not know Paul Lawrence Dunbar's house was, at the time I was on Home Avenue, was less than a mile from my home. And I was like, are you? And I went to college, which was past, to know that it was in my neighborhood. So going and seeking the knowledge too, and how do we prepare that person to, hey, I know you may know what you think you know, but let me add something to that. How do we get them ready to want to know? And that's my thing. I try to share. If I would have known about going to the military, I probably would have went in the military, but I didn't know anything about it. So how do we break those myths and say, hey, yes, you can, and constant being that beacon, because you can't do it all by yourself. So how do I share it and continue sharing?
I think we have to start with less entertainment, more education.
Right.
That's key with our folks.
Yes.
It's just so much entertainment readily available at your fingertips. You need to have educational tools and educational things in place like that. Too many times we have folks who They know how to recite all the lyrics to a song, but they don't know anything of substance that's going to help them advance their
One
lives.
plus one.
You have to be able to know how to do the basic skills in life in order to advance yourself.
Yes.
We have too many people out here who just think it's all going to be given to them, and that there's no, there's no obstacles. My mom's going to do it. My dad's going to do it. Whomever has been the caretaker to that point in their life, they just take for granted that that's just how it's going to be. And I think as parents, we have to kind of hold back on some of the gifts and the treats and start to put forth, place responsibility on our young folks. They need this responsibility because we got to teach them how to live in the world. We can't give them the world.
Right.
Because once you're gone, then what are they going to do? I'm so passionate about this because I run into so many young people who it just seems like once they've been faced with any kind of adversity, they crumble or they can't handle it. And a lot of times it's because nobody's ever told me no, or my mom and them didn't teach me that, or nobody said this to me. But we have to be more in tune with teaching our kids how to operate and live in the world as an adult, as opposed to just trying to give them the world and the things that we didn't have, because that's only for a short period of time. Because guess what? If you give your kids everything that you didn't have when you were 2, by the time they're 10, they don't even remember that.
Right. Yeah, the kids now, like you said, they're just so into stuff.
Right.
And we have a whole generation of spoiled kids. I mean, kids having iPhones, the best tennis shoes, the scooters, the hoverboards, you
And
know.
they'll kill their parents over a cell phone.
I mean, it's like they're just a spoiled generation. And it's going to turn out personalities that are not good.
It does.
So having to work for it, that was my dad's thing. I had to work for it. Even when I wanted the car, he's like, meet me halfway. What do you have to offer for it?
Right.
And I'm guilty of that too, because I wanted to give my kid everything I didn't have. But why? I had to work for it too. Why did I give them? Why do they deserve that? But we wanted to kind of shield them, but we got to let them know this is what real life is so they don't get surprised.
Right.
Shocked. Like, what? My boss told me no. Well, yeah, several people are going to tell you no.
Right.
And like you said, we have that responsibility. And I know I see kids at 7, 8 with a cell phone. I'm like, oh.
That's scary.
Very, because one of the young ladies I was talking with, her son thought he was talking to a 13 or 14-year-old teenager. Well, it was a 60-year-old man, and he didn't realize it, but he told him his grandmother's address because he thought, oh, I'll tell him not when I'm at home with my mom, I'll give him my grandmother's address. And his grandmother called in a panic, like, there's a 16-year-old man in my driveway looking for my grandson. But he had no idea, but he had access to a phone. And that was a couple months ago. So this isn't old, this is things that happen. So preparing and we put the knowledge in the hand, but we don't tell them how to use it. So that's an importance. Okay, hey, you have the rules, here's the knowledge, this is how you use it. So I think that's another part. And then charging them with that responsibility again, making them responsible. Because I was one of those too, guilty, give it to you. And then what we have, that generation.
Right. Yeah. You mentioned, both of you talked about a materialistic society, where you give kids all this stuff. One of the things we do at Kwanzaa, there are gifts on the table, but these are things that the children have made themselves. So there's something, and they appreciate it more because I made that, with my own hands, and we also talked about apprenticeship, and, we should have apprentices, we should have volunteers, we should have understudies, like in the entertainment field. I have accidentally become other people's understudies without even realizing it, but they knew. And one of the people who did that for me was Kwame Ture, who used to be called Stokely Carmichael. Whenever he would be speaking somewhere, he would find a way for me to be there. And his plane was always late for some strange reason. And then so they would say, well, you go on, and say a few words about South Africa until he comes in. Well, when he comes in, after a while, he started, when I would stop, he would tell me to keep on going. And that's how I learned to speak in public. Before I knew it, it was a piece of cake. But that's what you do. And I call myself, even to my friends, a fire starter. I start the fire, You know, I'm those little twigs that start the fire, but I'm warming you up so you can continue the fire. You have to blow the fire for it to continue. You have to bring the big pieces of wood to continue the fire, and you have to cook whatever. I'm gone, you know, to start another fire somewhere else. And sometimes as elders, we don't want to do that. We want to hold on to our little thing, you know, this is my baby. No, it's everybody's baby. Move on, move out the way, you know, move it to the next generation and the next generation. So I am a very strong believer of being a fire starter, and you take it from there and I move on.
And that's important, and it goes right along what we're talking about, keeping that torch lit and making sure, and then you're actually getting that generation prepared and ready. Like I said, be the little kindling to get them started, and then hey, here's the door. Let's try it this way. Let's see if this works, and then learning what is a nonprofit and why do you have a compassion to give. I think that is so excellent, and being that light. And as we go through life, I always want to say, what kind of legacy do you want to leave to the next generation? Because in order for them to pick up the torch, they can have it lit, but they need to have the directions as well. Knowing the rules of the game and making sure they're clear. They're clear. And then know the obstacles, but tell them they're there and tell them it's okay if you have to go through them. And you said there are kids that sound, today it seems like any adversity, it seems like they crumble. We want to strengthen our youth and tell them, yes, you do matter. And I know you've been told you want to win everything, but sometimes it's okay to lose. It's okay to lose. And guess what? You live and you got to practice to come and fight another day. So we're down to our last couple minutes. So that's one of the things. What would you like to pass on to the next generation? And mine is, you live and fight the next day. So come prepared. But guess what? I might need a little bit more practice. I might need to go and do a little more skill searching. That way I know next time I'll be prepared. So everything that doesn't look so horrible isn't always. You have to pursue and push through the adversity. Because through that test, there is a testimony, but you got to go through the test. So what would you guys like to pass on, and how would you like to pass on to your next generation that you want your community to know?
I would say, open your eyes, take your head out of the phone, out of the tablet, take a walk through the neighborhood, look at your neighborhood, see what you would like made better. How could you do that? You know, everybody's just like this all the time. All the kids, I mean, it's just crazy. You know, look around, look at the sky, look at the trees, look at your neighbors, look at the neighborhood. You could have your own nonprofit. You could do something to make the neighborhood better. Get your head up, not down, you know.
I like that.
I would say leave an impact. We all have individual minds and individual abilities and skills for a reason. Leave your impact on your community, on this world. Make it as big as you want to, whatever your passion is. Go big. And for those things, I think it takes 3 key components. And for me, to get to complete any task that I've completed throughout the course of my life, those 3 components have been focus, discipline, and determination. Anytime I had those things at the forefront of any of the goals that I want to achieve, it's happened. And I won't say it's been easy, but I felt proud of myself, and I felt good about about what I've done. So those things, focus, discipline, and determination, I think will be key components of anything you want to accomplish throughout, and leave your impact.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, for me, like the gospel song says, we fall down, but we get up. You know, it's very important, like you said, to point the obstacles and the mistakes. Mistakes are there for us to learn from. You know, it's only when we don't learn from them, then there's a problem, a big problem. And in terms of getting up, you know, we don't have to, when you fall, you don't leap up. You know, you slowly, you feel, you know, if you have some pain or you broke something, and you slowly get up. And you don't run. You take it one step at a time. Like my mom used to say, put one foot in front of the other, you know, and you'll get there. And, you know, I think that, like you said, you know, we have to feel that it is impediment upon us to leave this world better than we found it.
And I love that. Leave the world better than when we found it. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm so happy you guys could join us. And this is an impact. And our biggest thing is passing that torch and making sure that it's lit from the next generation to generation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.